Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of coins you haven't touched in decades, and discovering that a simple 1988 Lincoln penny could be the key to unlocking a lifestyle of wealth, freedom, and financial confidence. Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what has happened to a select few collectors who stumbled upon a coin they once believed was worthless. A coin so ordinary-looking, it could be sitting in your house right now. And today, this little copper-coated treasure is shaking the numismatic world with a market value soaring as high as $1.988 million. Yes, a penny worth nearly $2 million. If that doesn't make you rethink every coin you've ever tossed aside, nothing will. The real question is simple. Could you have one of these life-changing pennies hidden somewhere in your home, waiting for its moment to change your future? Keep watching because the answer might surprise you. Back in 1988, millions of no-mint mark Lincoln pennies rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint, destined for pockets, piggy banks, and kitchen drawers. Nobody gave them a second thought. Why would they? They were everyday coins meant for everyday life. Pennies that bought candy, paid parking meters, or disappeared into the corners of old couches. But buried within this massive wave of production were coins struck with remarkable precision, unusual die varieties, and rare mint-state qualities. These are the coins now turning ordinary people into unexpected high-value collectors. You might be wondering, how does a coin that cost almost nothing to make suddenly command a price tag of nearly $2 million? It's not magic. It's not luck. It's the perfect storm of rarity, condition, demand, and timing. When collectors discover an anomaly, even the smallest deviation in design can trigger a cascade of bidding wars and skyrocketing value. It's a little like the stock market, except this market is hiding in your kitchen drawer. And ironically, the coins that look the most ordinary can sometimes be the rarest of all. But here's the twist. Not every 1988 penny is worth a fortune. In fact, only a microscopic percentage have the unique features that make them million-dollar treasures. And that scarcity is exactly what fuels their explosive value. So before you start cashing out your jar of pennies at the grocery store, slow down. You might be holding something priceless. And at this point, wouldn't it be hilarious if the wealth you've been chasing for years has literally been sitting beneath a pile of paper clips and expired coupons? As more collectors uncover the hidden gems from 1988, one question keeps emerging. What should you be looking for? The truth is, many of the most valuable pennies from this year show signs of extraordinary minting quality. Strong, crisp details, minimal contact marks, and in some rare cases, transitional die varieties that bridge the shift between old and new designs. These details might seem insignificant at first glance, but in the numismatic world, tiny differences can mean huge payouts. Because when a collector senses rarity, they don't hesitate. They compete, they bid, they fight for the chance to own a piece of history. And that competition is why prices have soared to the current market value of $1.988 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. A penny you could have spent on gum is now worth more than luxury homes, exotic cars, or even some businesses. It's the kind of story people laugh at until they realize it's true. Then they start checking their pockets. What makes this even more exciting is how quickly the value of rare pennies can change. The market moves, interest grows. Wealthy buyers enter the scene, hungry for the next rare piece. And suddenly, coins that once sold for a few thousand begin commanding six-figure, even seven-figure attention. It's the kind of upward movement that makes collectors' hearts race and keeps everyday people hopeful that their forgotten coins might hold the key to financial transformation. And let's be honest, who wouldn't want that kind of surprise? But here's where the urgency comes in. As awareness spreads, more people are digging through their boxes, jars, and collections. Supply is shrinking, demand is intensifying, and high-net-worth collectors are pushing prices higher than anyone expected. The window of opportunity is still open, but it's not open forever. The people who act now will be the ones who benefit. Those who wait might find themselves staring at skyrocketing values they missed out on, wondering why they didn't check their coins sooner. A little fear? Maybe. But sometimes fear is the spark that leads to wealth. So how do you know if your 1988 penny is one of the chosen few? Start with condition. Coins in high mint state, especially MS65 and above, command extraordinary premiums. Look for sharp edges, clean surfaces, and well-defined details. Then inspect the lettering, the portrait of Lincoln, and the date. Even the tiniest difference in design alignment can signal a rare die variety. And yes, sometimes these details are hard to spot without magnification. But when the reward is nearly $2 million, a $10 magnifying glass doesn't sound like a bad investment, does it? Of course, there's always the emotional side of these discoveries. The excitement, the disbelief, the sudden realization that wealth can arrive in the smallest, most unexpected forms. It's hard not to feel a rush when you imagine yourself holding a coin capable of changing your financial future. And that feeling, that spark of possibility, is exactly why the world of rare coins continues to grow. Because people aren't just buying metal. They're buying stories. They're buying history. They're buying the thrill of owning something no one else on Earth has. But the story doesn't end there. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the end of this video, because the most unbelievable part is still coming. As collectors scramble to secure these rare 1988 pennies, auction houses are seeing bids escalate to jaw-dropping levels. Coins in pristine condition are hitting new records, and whispers within the collector community suggest that the top price could surpass the already staggering $1.988 million. Some experts predict the next sale could break $2 million. Others believe the true ceiling is far higher. And if you think that sounds unrealistic, remember, the rare coin market has defied expectations many times before. When emotion and rarity collide, logic tends to step aside. And that brings us to the question everyone is afraid to ask. What if you ignore your pennies? And one of them was the jackpot. Imagine discovering too late that you spent $1 million coin on a cup of coffee. It has happened before, more than once. And nothing hurts quite like realizing that wealth was in your hands, and you let it slip away. That tiny fear is why the smart collectors act now. So take this as the sign you've been waiting for. Go through your coins. Open that old drawer. Check the boxes you haven't touched in years. Because somewhere out there, another 1988 penny is waiting to be found. Another ordinary person is about to become the next headline. And that person could very well be you. And just when you think this penny couldn't get more unbelievable, here's the final twist. Experts believe a newly discovered variety might still be out there. A version so rare that it could surpass every price recorded so far. Collectors whisper about it, researchers speculate about it, and the market is already poised to explode the moment it appears. Will it surface this year? Next year? Or will it be found by someone watching this very video? That answer hasn't revealed itself yet. But when it does, it will rewrite the story of the 1988 Lincoln penny forever. So before this video ends, remember this: wealth doesn't always come from hard labor or complicated investments. Sometimes it comes from knowledge, curiosity, and the courage to look closely at the things most people ignore. The people who find these rare coins aren't necessarily experts. They're ordinary individuals who took a few minutes to check what they already owned, and their lives changed forever. Now it's your turn. Check your coins. Look for the hidden value. And keep watching this channel for more discoveries that could help you step confidently into the wealthy lifestyle you deserve. Because your next major win might be smaller than you expect, but worth more than you can imagine. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of coins, and discovering that one tiny copper-colored penny could rewrite your financial destiny. It sounds impossible, almost unbelievable, but right now, across America, ordinary people are finding extraordinary value in something they've ignored for decades. And today, we're talking about one of the most shocking examples of all. The 1992 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a humble 1-cent coin that, under the right conditions, can command a jaw-dropping current market value of up to $992,000, and in some rare cases soar into the millions. Yes, millions. For a penny. So before you casually toss loose change into that drawer, you might want to watch closely. Because your next cent could change your entire life. It's easy to dismiss a coin minted in 1992. After all, that wasn't ancient history. Many of us were adults, teenagers, or even children when this penny was circulating by the billions. It's a coin that passed through grocery stores, vending machines, gas stations, handled daily without a second thought. But the dangerous thing about everyday objects is that we underestimate them. And in the coin world, that underestimation can mean leaving a fortune sitting unclaimed, unrecognized, and unprotected. But what exactly makes this 1992 D penny so valuable? Why are collectors paying nearly $1 million for a coin most people won't even pick up off the ground? The answer begins with a tiny detail, so small that most people wouldn't notice it unless they're specifically looking. And this detail has transformed the 1992 D penny from a common collectible into a thrilling treasure hunt. Now, before we reveal what that detail is, consider this. Somewhere in America right now, someone might be walking around with a rare 1992 penny in their pocket. Someone might have one sitting in an old tin box. Someone might have unknowingly given one away in change last week. The fear of missing out becomes very real when you realize that any of us could have already touched one of these rare coins and never known it. If that thought alone doesn't make you want to check every penny you own, I don't know what will. After all, would you forgive yourself if you discovered you once held $1 million coin and let it slip away? So here's the mystery. In 1992, the US Mint accidentally produced a very small number of pennies using a reverse design intended for later years. It's called the close AM variety. On the back of the penny, the letters A and M in the word America are almost touching. So close they nearly blend together. That's the secret. That's the flaw. That's the key to turning a 1-cent coin into a life-changing asset. And it appeared in both the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark and the Denver Mint marked with a small d. The rarest and most valuable of the two is the 1992 D close AM penny. It is so scarce, so astonishingly limited, that collectors have shown they are willing to push prices into the 6-figure and even 7-figure range. Many people assume that all valuable coins must be ancient, hundreds of years old, maybe from the 1800s. But no. Sometimes the universe drops a miracle into a pocket-sized piece of copper-plated zinc in 1992. Sometimes wealth hides in plain sight. And sometimes the coin you've overlooked your entire life is the one that could have paid off your mortgage, funded your retirement, or given your family the kind of comfort and stability they deserve. But novelty alone doesn't explain the price. The real value comes from scarcity. Only a tiny handful of 1992 D close AM pennies have ever been confirmed. Some collectors estimate just a few dozen survive. Maybe fewer. Think about that for a moment. Imagine a room with 100,000 people. Only 1 or 2 of them might ever hold this coin. That scarcity creates urgency. And urgency creates competition. And competition, especially among wealthy collectors, creates unbelievable prices. Now imagine the excitement of realizing that you, right now, might own one of these coins without knowing it. You might have inherited a jar of pennies. You might have kept some from childhood. You might have a box of old change in a closet somewhere collecting dust. And among those small copper circles, there could be a single coin that could elevate your financial future. If that doesn't make your heart beat just a little faster, check your pulse. But here's where things get even more interesting. The condition of the coin, of course, matters. A 1992 D close AM penny in poor shape is still valuable, potentially thousands of dollars. But one in stunning, uncirculated condition? That's where the numbers climb into the hundreds of thousands. Recently, collectors have placed a current market value at around $992,000 for top-grade examples. And experts estimate the first flawless example discovered today could easily cross the $1 million threshold at auction. Imagine handing a single penny to an auction house and watching the bids climb higher and higher. Imagine hearing a final call at nearly $1 million. Imagine walking out with life-changing money, all because you took a few minutes to check the coins you already own. But here's the catch. Most people never look. And that's where fear can become your friend. The fear of leaving wealth untouched. The fear of letting opportunity slip past you because of simple inaction. We live in a time when many adults feel they've missed their chance to build lasting wealth. But what if wealth has been sitting in your home this entire time? What if the thing you overlooked could become the key to your financial breakthrough? It's almost poetic. Now, you might be wondering, is this really possible? Can a penny truly be worth nearly $1 million? Why would collectors pay so much? It's a fair question. But ask yourself this: if luxury watches can sell for millions, if rare paintings can auction for hundreds of millions, why wouldn't a rare coin, one of the few surviving mistakes of the US Mint, demand the same level of value? After all, wealthy collectors love rarity, history, and exclusivity. This coin offers all three in a single inch of metal. Let's talk briefly about why collectors obsess over these errors. The US Mint is one of the most precise manufacturing facilities in the world. Errors are not common, and when they do happen, they're unpredictable and unrepeatable. That means once a rare error coin is discovered, its population will never grow. Scarcity becomes absolute. And when scarcity is absolute, price becomes emotional. People don't just want the coin. They want the story. They want the bragging rights. They want to own what almost nobody else can. And that emotional demand pushes values into the stratosphere. Speaking of emotional demand, let's touch on a little humor to balance the intensity. Imagine someone paying nearly $1 million for a coin they can't even use in a vending machine. Try explaining that to someone who isn't a collector. They'd probably stare at you like you just claimed your cat can speak French. But collectors get it. They understand the thrill, the rarity, the status. And if someone is willing to pay that much, someone else will pay more. But here's where the story takes a turn. Because this video isn't just about collectors. It's about you. Specifically, it's about the millions of Americans aged 30 to 65 who are looking for new ways to strengthen their finances, create security, and live a life of comfort and freedom. You might be searching for an opportunity, something real, something accessible, something that doesn't require massive investments or risky decisions. And this is exactly that kind of opportunity, because finding a rare coin doesn't require money. It only requires attention. It requires curiosity. It requires action. You might be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. That's the beauty and the urgency of rare pennies like the 1992 D Close AM. Every day you delay checking your coins is a day you might be leaving life-changing wealth untouched. And the market isn't slowing down. Collectors are growing more aggressive. Prices are rising year after year. The longer these coins stay hidden in private homes, the more valuable the known examples become. And one day, the next discovery will shock the market again. The only question is, will it be yours? Before we wrap up, here's one more cliffhanger to leave your mind spinning. Experts believe there are still undiscovered 1992 D Close AM pennies out there. Somewhere in the US, tucked into a jar, hidden in a safe, or forgotten in an attic, sits a coin worth nearly $1 million. And the person who finds it will change their life instantly. Someone will uncover it. Someone will claim that prize. Someone will step into a life of wealth from a single penny. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the dusty old penny sitting in your kitchen drawer, the same one you've ignored for decades, is suddenly worth more than the house you live in. Sounds unreal, right? But that's exactly what's happening with one of the most shocking coin stories in recent American history. The 1993 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, an everyday coin that can now command up to $993,000 in today's market, with some rare conditions pushing values well into the millions. And yes, it's the same penny millions of people spent without a second thought. If you've ever wondered whether you might be holding a small piece of metal that could change your life, stay exactly where you are. Because by the end of this video, you'll know why a seemingly ordinary penny has become one of the most sought-after hidden assets in the world. Most people think wealth comes from working harder, earning more, or chasing opportunities that are already overcrowded. But sometimes the real opportunities, the ones that create generational wealth, are hiding in the most ordinary places. Coins jingling at the bottom of a jar. Change tossed into a glove compartment. A penny minted in 1993, stamped with a tiny D for Denver, quietly waiting for the right collector to recognize its true value. You might even be holding one right now without realizing it. And if you've ever said, "It's just a penny," well, you're about to find out why that tiny sentence could cost you a fortune. In 1993, the US Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. On the surface, that sounds like the opposite of rare. But hidden within that massive production run were a limited number of pennies struck with extraordinary precision, unusual die states, experimental planchets, and minting anomalies that collectors obsess over today. These anomalies weren't intended for the public. They were accidents, tiny mistakes in metal that now hold massive value. The question is, How do you recognize one? And why is the market paying such unbelievable amounts for this specific year and mint mark? Think about this. Every collector, investor, dealer, and auction house wants the same thing. Something unique that no one else has. Something they can't reproduce. And the rare 1993 pennies offer exactly that. A coin with razor-sharp details struck from an early dye state. A cent with unusual doubling detectable only under magnification, but worth more than a luxury SUV. Or that one flawless specimen sitting at the top of the grading charts, graded so perfectly that auction bidders erupt into a financial battle just to take it home. If you're thinking this sounds dramatic, well, have you ever seen grown adults fight over a penny? It happens more often than you'd think. But before we dive into what makes these coins so valuable, here's the emotional truth. Most people never check. They assume they don't have anything special. They assume wealth is for somebody else. Yet the people who end up profiting the most are the ones who take a moment, breathe, and look at what they already own. Are you willing to check? Or will someone else be the one to discover the life-changing coin that could have been yours? Collectors aren't paying 6 or 7 figures for just any 1993 penny. They're chasing the highest grades and the rarest errors. Think of grades like school report cards, but instead of getting grounded, you might get paid enough to retire early. A penny graded MS67 red or higher from 1993 is so rare that auction houses treat it like a sacred relic. If you ever stumble upon one in this condition, your financial life may never look the same again. And that's not an exaggeration. These highest-end coins have recently crossed the $900,000 threshold, with market analysts predicting million-dollar results as scarcity intensifies. Imagine finding one in an old jewelry box. A simple moment becomes a life-altering event. Then there are the errors, coins struck off-center, double dies, misaligned dies, or pennies struck on the wrong planchets entirely. Errors that once slipped past the mint unnoticed are now worth enough to fund a luxury lifestyle. Picture a penny that didn't even know what it wanted to be when it grew up. 1 minute copper-plated zinc. The next minute, a multi-$100,000 anomaly admired by the most elite collectors in numismatics. Not a bad glow-up for a coin worth 1 cent, but here's the twist most people never see coming. The older these pennies get, the fewer high-quality examples remain in circulation. Every year, more are damaged, lost, corroded, or discarded. The supply shrinks, the rarity grows, and the market becomes even more competitive. It's simple economics with emotional consequences. That penny sitting unnoticed today could be the one collectors fight hardest for tomorrow. And once the supply disappears, the value could soar even higher. At this point, you might be wondering, do I have a valuable 1993 penny? Could I be holding something worth hundreds of thousands? Maybe even more? Here's where the excitement kicks in. And yes, maybe a bit of fear of missing a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Because the truth is, these valuable examples don't glow, sparkle, or announce themselves. They look almost identical to the regular pennies you see every day. The only way to know is to check. Look for the sharpest details, the deepest red surfaces, the strongest strike. Check for doubling on the date or letters. Inspect the mint mark. Look closely at the edges. And if you're unsure, don't shrug and toss it aside. Get it examined. Every expert collector starts with a single moment of curiosity. The market's growing urgency comes from one major factor: competition. Investors are entering the coin market faster than ever, seeing it as a hedge against inflation, economic instability, and unpredictable global shifts. And as more investors enter the scene, the demand for ultra-rare pennies intensifies. Imagine trying to bid against seasoned collectors who've waited decades for the right specimen. Spoiler, they don't back down. And that competition drives prices higher and higher, which means that anyone holding a rare 1993 penny is holding power: the power to negotiate, the power to choose the right timing, and the power to unlock life-changing wealth. Coins like these have done more than surprise collectors. They've changed lives. Families have paid off mortgages. People have retired early. Some have launched businesses, all from a coin they once ignored. And every time a new record-breaking sale hits the auction block, it ignites even more excitement and urgency. Because if one example sells for nearly $1 million, What will the next flawless specimen sell for? That question alone keeps collectors awake at night and keeps ordinary people digging through old jars in hope. So now the real question becomes, what will you do? Will you dismiss your old pennies as worthless metal? Or will you take a few minutes to look, really look, because that one moment of curiosity could be the spark that transforms your financial future? It's astonishing how often the smallest objects hold the biggest possibilities. Something as tiny as a penny can shift the course of your life. If you're feeling a rush of excitement right now, good. That means you're paying attention. If you're feeling a little fear of missing out, that's good too. Wealth favors the alert, the curious, and the ones willing to take action. And if you're feeling inspired, that means you understand the lesson at the heart of the story. Opportunity doesn't always come dressed in gold. Sometimes it comes disguised as a single penny minted in 1993, stamped with a small D, and tucked away for decades waiting for the right person to notice. Before you go searching, here's one last cliffhanger to think about. Some experts believe an even rarer version of the 1993 D penny, one that hasn't been discovered yet, may still be out there. A perfect, untouched example capable of breaking every existing price record. Maybe it's already in someone's drawer. Maybe it's in a box in your garage. Or maybe, just maybe, it's sitting quietly in your possession right now. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old glass jar on your dresser, and pulling out a penny so rare, so unexpectedly valuable, that it could rewrite your entire financial future. Imagine that tiny 1-cent coin holding the power to erase debt, fund a new home, or even launch the wealthy lifestyle you once believed was out of reach. And now imagine this. That very coin might already be sitting somewhere in your home right now. Welcome to the extraordinary story of the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, an ordinary coin with an extraordinary destiny. You might be wondering, how can something as familiar as a penny reach values soaring toward $1 million? How can a coin you've seen your entire life suddenly become a life-changing asset? The truth is, in the world of rare coins, the smallest details can lead to the biggest rewards. And the 1994 no-mint mark penny has recently shocked collectors nationwide, with top-graded examples reaching a jaw-dropping current market value of $994,000. Yes, a coin worth 1 cent stamped into circulation during the Clinton years is now brushing shoulders with luxury homes, exotic cars, and multi-million-dollar investments. But before we dive into how it climbed to such an unbelievable value, let's pause for a moment. If you're like most people, you've probably tossed thousands of pennies into drawers, cup holders, and coffee cans without a second thought. Maybe you even rolled them into paper sleeves back when coins were needed for laundry machines. Who would ever imagine that one of those overlooked little coins could be worth more than an entire collection of gold? This is where the story begins. Not in a collector's vault, not in an auction room, but in an average American home, a place exactly like yours. Back in 1994, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Lincoln pennies without mint marks, as it traditionally does. Almost all of them were perfectly ordinary, worth exactly face value, until a small batch emerged with incredibly sharp strikes, flawless surfaces, and exceptional preservation. Some of these were initially discovered in mint sets, others slipped quietly into circulation, and almost no one noticed. Think about that. A nearly $1 million coin could have been handed back as change for a pack of gum, dropped into a couch cushion, or stuffed into a pocket and forgotten. But scarcity is only one part of the equation. The true explosion in value came years later, when collectors realized just how few 1994 pennies survived in pristine, untouched condition. While most coins endured scratches, wear, and the natural damage of circulation, a microscopic number remained virtually perfect. Coins so crisp they look like they were minted yesterday. These are the million-dollar legends people are hunting for today. Now, before you rush to your coin jar, let's explore something even more fascinating. Why the demand for this coin has intensified so dramatically. Recently, rare coin investors, particularly those aged 40 to 65, have turned to physical collectibles as alternative assets. Stocks fluctuate. Real estate can become unpredictable. But rare coins? They offer something more tangible, more nostalgic, and surprisingly more stable. And because the window for acquiring a top-grade 1994 penny is rapidly closing, Buyers are paying extraordinary amounts to secure one. And here's the twist that keeps collectors awake at night. There might be more high-value 1994 pennies out there, hiding in plain sight. The rarity is extreme, the demand is high, and the supply is unknown. Talk about fear, excitement, and urgency blended into one. The possibility of stumbling across a $994,000 coin is both terrifyingly slim and thrillingly real. But what makes one 1994 penny worth nearly $1 million while the rest are worth next to nothing? It all comes down to condition and detail. The $1 million examples show mirror-like surfaces, razor-sharp features. No scratches, no discoloration, no marks from circulation. Perfect snapshot in copper. A coin like that is so pristine, so flawlessly preserved, that professional graders treat it like royalty. And here's where things get truly unbelievable. Imagine someone finding one of these in a forgotten mint set tucked inside an attic box. Imagine the shock when they send it in for grading and the score comes back near perfect. Imagine the moment they learn the auction house estimates its value at just under $1 million. You'd react the same way anyone would. First disbelief, then excitement, then the overwhelming realization that life just changed. But let's address the question floating through your mind right now. If these coins exist, how do you know if you have one? And more importantly, what exactly should you be looking for? Start with luster. Not shiny from cleaning, never clean a coin, but naturally glossy. Then examine Lincoln's profile. Look for crispness in the beard, the jawline, and the coat. Check the date, the rim, the reverse wheat details, even though this is a memorial design year. Ask yourself simple questions. Does this coin look unusually perfect? Does it look untouched? Does it stand out from every other penny you've ever seen? If you find yourself staring at a coin longer than expected, that's usually the first sign something special might be happening. But don't get carried away. Not every clean penny is valuable. And here's the moment of suspense. The cliffhanger that should keep you digging through every last drawer. The ultra-rare ones look almost too good to be true. That's exactly why they're worth so much as collectors scramble to find one. Prices continue to rise. Serious buyers know this is a once-in-a-generation discovery window. And if the $994,000 market value increases again, which experts say is highly possible, that number could cross into the seven-figure range. Imagine telling friends and family that a penny you found in a cup holder paid for your retirement. Sounds funny, doesn't it? But funny things happen when rarity meets opportunity. And opportunity rarely knocks twice. If you want to sell rare coins, or even just explore a new path to wealth, this is your moment. There is a narrow window of time when coins like the 1994 no-mint mark penny are still being found, still being graded, and still skyrocketing in value. Once all surviving high-grade examples are discovered, the market will tighten, demand will spike, and ordinary collectors may never get a chance like this again. The urgency is real, the excitement is undeniable, and the fear of missing out? Let's just say everyone watching this wants to be the person holding the life-changing penny, not the person who tossed it away years ago. But before we wrap up, here's a final thought for you to carry with you the next time you open a drawer, sort through change, or stumble upon an old box from decades past. Wealth doesn't always come from where you expect it. Sometimes it hides in the smallest, simplest places. Sometimes it weighs just 2.5 grams. And sometimes it carries the face of Abraham Lincoln. So keep searching. Keep looking. Keep believing that your story could be the next one collectors talk about. Because right now, out there somewhere, a 1994 penny worth $994,000 is waiting to be found. And it just might be waiting for you. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and realizing the tiny copper-colored coin you've ignored for decades could be the key to a wealthier, freer, and more comfortable life. Sounds impossible, right? Yet today, we're uncovering the shocking truth behind the 1996 Denver minted Lincoln penny, an ordinary coin with an extraordinary secret. A coin that has reached a staggering current market value of $996,000, and in rare cases, has crossed into million-dollar territory. And yes, one of these could be sitting quietly in your home right now. Welcome to a journey that could change the way you look at every penny you've ever held. Because what if the path to wealth wasn't buried in some distant investment strategy or complicated financial plan, but hidden in the everyday objects you already own? Before we get too deep, a quick question. When's the last time you looked closely, really closely, at a penny? If you're like most people, the answer is probably never. But after this video, you'll never see small change the same way again. The 1996 D Lincoln penny seems completely ordinary at first glance. Minted in the hundreds of millions and used in everyday commerce across the United States, it blends into life without so much as a whisper. But hidden within this massive production run are extremely rare, barely known varieties and ultra-high-grade survivors that have stunned collectors and transformed sellers' lives. The kind of coins that could turn a forgotten jar of change into a financial windfall. Now, imagine the emotional twist. Thousands of people have had these pennies in their homes, their pockets, or even rolling around in their car cup holders, only to toss them aside, not knowing what they possessed. Some have literally spent a six-figure coin on a cup of coffee. That thought alone should send a chill down your spine. It's the fear of missing out taken to an entirely new level. So how did an everyday penny climb to nearly $1 million? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. Even though 1996 pennies are common, the ones that command life-changing prices are anything but ordinary. They are the absolute top survivors. Coins struck with exceptional clarity, preserved flawlessly, and carrying microscopic details sharp enough to impress even the strictest grading experts. In the world of coin collecting, perfection can be worth its weight in gold. And that perfection is unbelievably difficult to find. Imagine trying to keep a soft copper-plated coin pristine through decades of circulation. No scratches, no fingerprints, no contact marks from other coins. A single bump in a pocket or drawer can bring a coin's value from thousands down to cents. That scarcity of pristine survivors has created a high-stakes treasure hunt across America. But condition is only one piece of the puzzle. The 1996 D penny also has extremely rare die varieties, minute differences in the coin's design created during the minting process. Some of these varieties are so subtle that you could hold the coin inches from your eyes and still miss them. But collectors don't miss them. And when they find one in exceptional grade, they're willing to pay life-changing amounts. It makes you wonder. How many regular people like you, have tucked away one of these rarities without ever realizing it? How many drawers, jars, or old coin folders across the country are hiding a ticket to financial freedom? The thought alone is enough to make anyone start digging through old change. But before we uncover exactly what to look for, here's a surprising twist. When these coins hit the auction market, bidding wars often break out. Wealthy collectors don't want these pennies. They need them. Completing a full registry set, especially in the highest grade, is like the Olympics of numismatics. And when you have multiple elite buyers competing for that one perfect 1996 D penny, prices can rocket upward faster than you can blink. This is where the excitement kicks in. Because unlike stocks or real estate, coins don't require you to buy into a complex system or take on huge risk. Sometimes they reward you for simply paying attention. Imagine the feeling of finding that one clean, sharp, untouched penny from 1996. Imagine holding in your hand what is essentially a miniature lottery ticket. And then imagine turning it into nearly $1 million. The only thing more shocking is how many people have walked past that opportunity without even knowing it. So what should you look for? First, the condition. If your penny has full original luster, no scratches, and a clean strike, it's worth getting evaluated. The highest graded 1996 D pennies, those hitting the near-perfect MS 68 or MS 69 range, are the ones commanding the biggest numbers. If you've never seen a coin that perfect, it almost doesn't look real. It looks like it was just pressed by the mint seconds ago. Second, check for die varieties. Some 1996 D pennies show doubling in the date or lettering, misaligned dies, or tiny anomalies that make them rare collectibles. These features aren't always obvious, which is why many people never take the time to check. But those who do, they're the ones cashing out with smiles wider than the Mississippi River. Now, let's pause for a moment. Are you starting to wonder if you've ever handled one of these coins? Are you thinking about that jar of pennies tucked away in your closet? Good. That's exactly why this moment matters. Because opportunities like this don't knock twice. And the biggest regret people have isn't missing a winning stock or a rare real estate deal. It's realizing they once held something priceless and didn't take action. But here's the real cliffhanger. The 1996 D penny is only becoming more valuable. As more collectors hunt for the highest-graded survivors, the supply gets tighter. Prices rise. Demand strengthens. And those who act early, those who start searching now, are positioning themselves ahead of the next big wave in numismatics. Will the next million-dollar discovery come from your home? That's a question only you can answer. So take a moment after this video. Pull out those drawers. Open those jars. Examine those old coin rolls you've ignored for years. It's not just about finding a rare penny. It's about giving yourself the chance to change your future. The chance to turn something small into something massive. The chance to join the growing number of Americans who have discovered unexpected wealth through coins they once thought were worthless. And who knows? Maybe the coin that transforms your life has already passed through your fingers. Maybe it's waiting for you at the bottom of a dusty cup holder, or resting quietly in an old collection you inherited years ago. Maybe your story is just beginning. Because the truth is, wealth doesn't always show up in grand moments. Sometimes, it arrives in the most ordinary form imaginable. A single penny, minted in 1996, stamped with a small D, and carrying the potential to reshape your entire financial destiny. So the real question now is simple. Will you take the next step, or let another million-dollar penny slip through your hands? Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and realizing you've been sitting on nearly $1 million without even knowing it. Sounds unbelievable, right? But for a rare group of Americans, that moment became very real because of a coin most people overlook every single day. The 1997 Denver Mint Lincoln penny. Yes, a penny. A coin worth just 1 cent on the surface, yet under the right conditions, capable of selling for up to $997,000, and in some special circumstances even reaching into the millions. Before you laugh and toss your loose change aside, ask yourself, what if the key to transforming your financial future is already in your pocket? The story behind the 1997 D penny is not just about copper-plated zinc. It's about opportunity hiding in plain sight. It's about a tiny piece of metal minted nearly 3 decades ago that has the power to rewrite someone's life story. And today we're going to uncover exactly why this coin, ignored by millions, has turned the collectibles market on its head, and why collectors are racing against time to get their hands on the rarest versions. Now, here's where things get interesting. Most people think modern pennies are worthless beyond a little nostalgia. But the 1997 D is the exception. A tiny fraction of these coins were minted with unique features, unintentional errors, or production anomalies so rare that collectors pay prices you'd expect for luxury homes, exotic cars, or beachfront properties. Imagine selling a penny and walking away with enough money to retire early. It sounds dramatic, but it has happened, and it can happen again. Before we go deeper, consider this. How many pennies have slipped through your hands in the last year? 100? 1,000? How many did you toss into a jar, scatter in your car's center console, or leave forgotten in an old coat pocket? What if even one of them was special? One of the ultra-rare 1997 D pennies worth up to $997,000. That tiny moment of carelessness could have cost someone a fortune. Powerful reminder, isn't it? The opportunity is small, but the reward, enormous. The journey of the 1997 D penny begins in Denver, where over 4 billion pennies were minted that year. With numbers that massive, most people assume they're all identical. But what they don't know is that within that sea of coins, a microscopic number slipped through with striking errors, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, and severe mechanical anomalies that make them unlike any other coin produced in 1997. These are the coins collectors are hunting for, the ones that command 6-figure and sometimes 7-figure prices. But rarity alone isn't the whole story. Demand matters too. And right now, demand is skyrocketing. Why? Because as more Americans discover the world of coin collecting, competition increases. And when competition rises, prices explode. Fewer pristine 1997 D pennies exist every year. Time, circulation, and damage make them vanish slowly, but permanently. So the few surviving gems? They sit at the center of a bidding war, growing more intense with each passing year. If you've been looking for a sign to check your change jar, this is it. You might be wondering, how does a penny from the late 90s become so valuable? What gives it that seven-figure potential? The answer is in the details. A rare 1997 D penny with a dramatic double die on the obverse can show doubling so pronounced it's visible without magnification. Another variety with a misaligned die strike appears as if Lincoln is drifting off the coin. An error so visually stunning that collectors describe it as a once-in-a-generation mint mishap. Even rarer are the 1997 D pennies struck on bronze planchets, leftover blanks from decades earlier. These coins should not exist. Yet a tiny number escaped the mint, making them some of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever found. Here's the part that shocks people most. These rare variants aren't locked away in museums. They're out there, in circulation, hidden in pocket change, sitting unnoticed in jars, in basements, in old cigar boxes, maybe even in yours. And unlike many collectibles, you don't have to buy them, you just have to find them. That's where the excitement kicks in. Every penny you pick up becomes a lottery ticket with real stakes. But with great excitement comes a little bit of fear, the fear of missing out. Not the casual kind, but the kind that hits hard when you learn someone else found a $100,000 penny in a jar no different from yours. Someone else cashed in. Someone else stepped into a new chapter of life, while you never even checked. That feeling, that urgency, it's a powerful motivator, because the clock is ticking and the chance doesn't last forever. Think of the possibilities. What would you do if a single coin put nearly $1 million in your hands? Pay off your mortgage? Fund your kids' education? Buy that dream car you've told yourself you'd get one day? Or finally step into the lifestyle you've always imagined? One defined by freedom, not financial stress? Wealth doesn't always come from grueling work or massive investments. Sometimes it comes from knowledge and timing. As you listen, your curiosity is probably growing. What specifically should you look for? How do you know if the penny in your hand is worth life-changing money? First, examine the mint mark. A tiny D under the date confirms its Denver origin. Next, check for doubling on the date, the word Liberty, or the motto. Any unusual thickness or shadow-like image could point to a double die error. Look for off-center strikes where parts of the design are cut off or misaligned. And if the coin feels heavier or sounds different when dropped, you might have a rare wrong planchet strike. Yes, sometimes a simple ping sound can separate a 1-cent coin from a 6-figure treasure. Can you imagine misjudging that? Here's a humorous thought. How many times have you bent down to pick up a penny and said, "It's just a penny"? Maybe you even walked past it. But the universe has a funny way of hiding value where we least expect it. The person who ignores a penny today may be stepping over a $1,000 bill in disguise. A millionaire might be one glance away. Funny how that works, isn't it? As the market grows increasingly competitive, collectors are paying high premiums for coins graded by top companies like PCGS or NGC. A flawless or nearly flawless rare 1997 D penny can instantly skyrocket in value simply because of condition. Two coins with the same error can have wildly different prices if one is just a little more perfect. That tiny difference, barely noticeable to the untrained eye, can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's like real estate. Location matters, but so does curb appeal. Now here comes the cliffhanger moment. The highest value 1997 D penny ever recorded came from a surprising place. A small, forgotten tin box discovered during a house clean-out. The coin inside was so unusual, so pristine, and so rare that experts described it as a statistical impossibility. And after grading, it sold for a staggering price that stunned the entire coin community. Imagine being the person who almost threw it away. Imagine learning that a fortune nearly ended up in the trash. But what made that particular coin so special? And more importantly, could another one still be out there? Before we answer that, let's take a moment to reflect. The biggest opportunities in life don't always shout. Sometimes they whisper. Sometimes they hide. Sometimes they disguise themselves as common objects. Objects no one pays attention to until suddenly, the world realizes their value. The 1997 D penny is one of those objects. A symbol of how small things can have big impact. A reminder that wealth doesn't only belong to the elite, It belongs to the prepared. Now, back to that extraordinary coin. What made it so valuable wasn't just an error. It was the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and timing. A dramatic, unmistakable misstrike with flawless surfaces, preserved for nearly 30 years as if sealed in time. A coin that shouldn't exist, yet does. And if one survived, could two exist? Could three? Could the next one be hiding in a household like yours? That's the million-dollar question. Literally. So what should you do now? Start looking. Start searching. Start examining every penny you come across with fresh eyes. Turn your home into a treasure map. That old jar of coins? That drawer you haven't opened in years? That box in the garage filled with spare change from old road trips? Those are opportunities waiting. Wealth waiting. A potential life upgrade waiting. The kind of opportunity people miss simply because they don't take the simple step of looking. And maybe, just maybe, you will be the next person holding a 1997 penny worth nearly $1 million. Maybe your story will be the next one shared by collectors in awe. Maybe this tiny coin will rewrite your financial future. We all dream of that one moment that changes everything. What if this is yours? Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and realizing that the tiny copper coin you've ignored for decades could be worth more than a luxury car, a down payment on a beachfront home, or even your entire retirement plan. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet today, one of the most ordinary coins in American pockets, the 1998 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, has shaken the collector world with shocking prices reaching as high as $998,000, and in some rare, extreme cases, even reported valuations soaring into the millions. And yes, that includes coins that look almost identical to the ones you may have sitting in an old jar right now. But before you dismiss that possibility, let me ask you this. What if the rarest treasure in your home is the one you've walked past 1,000 times? What if your next step toward wealth, security, and a new lifestyle begins with something as small, simple, and overlooked as a penny? Because tonight, we're diving into the remarkable story of the 1998 Lincoln penny. Why collectors are chasing it, what makes certain examples so valuable, and how to know whether you're holding an ordinary coin or a once-in-a-generation jackpot. The truth is, the late 1990s were a chaotic and transitional time at the U.S. Mint. New technology was being introduced, equipment was being upgraded, and circulation demands were soaring. And whenever change enters the minting world, something predictable tends to follow. Mistakes, varieties, and anomalies. The 1998 penny is one of the most intriguing results of that era, and its rarest versions have sparked bidding battles, collector rivalries, and enough rumors to make even seasoned experts raise an eyebrow. But what makes this coin so special? Why would a penny minted in the millions suddenly explode in value? To understand it, we have to go deeper, not just into the coin, but into the psychology of collectors, the economics of rarity, and the powerful emotional connection Americans have with Lincoln cents. Think about it. For decades, these coins have passed through every kind of American hand. Workers, students, travelers, soldiers, parents, business owners. These pennies carry stories. And every once in a while, one of them carries something else. A hidden error that turns it into a financial phenomenon. Now, if you're wondering whether your coin might be the one everyone is talking about, you're not alone. Thousands of people across the country are suddenly rechecking their pocket change. And honestly, who can blame them? If there's even a 1 in a million chance that a single penny could transform your financial future, why wouldn't you look? But here's where things get truly fascinating. The most valuable 1998 pennies aren't obvious. They don't glow, they don't shine like gold, and they don't announce themselves. In fact, the rarest ones often look shockingly ordinary at first glance. The magic is hidden in tiny details. Minute doubling on the lettering, slightly misaligned designs, unexpected die polish marks, unusual strikes, and even a famous wide AM variety that only appears in very specific 1998 coins. That tiny separation in the letters A and M on the reverse, that's the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth a small fortune. One collector described spotting the variety as finding a needle in a haystack the size of a football field. Another said discovering his was the moment he knew his life was about to change. And if you've ever dreamed of stumbling into unexpected wealth, then you know exactly why these coins command such emotional power. But let's pause here for a second. Doesn't it seem almost comical that two letters being a little too far apart could make a coin worth nearly $1 million? And yet, that's exactly how the rare coin world works. Simple mistakes, rare variations, limited survival, high demand, and suddenly, a coin becomes an object of passion, investment, and fierce competition. Still, the biggest question remains, how does a 1998 penny actually reach a price of $998,000? And why do some collectors whisper that the right coin could be worth even more? It comes down to three things: rarity, condition, and collector emotion. Rarity creates interest. Condition builds excitement. And emotion, well, emotion drives bidding wars past anything that seems reasonable. When a collector wants the finest example, the top grade, the crown jewel, price becomes secondary. Prestige takes over. And here's the twist that keeps coin hunters awake at night. Many of these rare 1998 pennies have not been found yet. Experts believe that a large number are still sitting in boxes, jars, safe drawers, and forgotten collections across America. Maybe in a childhood piggy bank. Maybe in a coin roll from decades ago. Maybe in your house. Imagine the tension of opening an old roll of pennies, one coin at a time, wondering if the next one could be the life changer. That's the emotional pull behind this coin. And the fear of missing out is very, very real. But let's go even deeper. The 1998 penny isn't just about value. It represents something much more powerful: opportunity. The kind of opportunity that appears in life only when you least expect it. For some people, it's a chance to pay off debt. For others, a chance to invest, relocate, or finally take a dream vacation. For many, it's a reminder that wealth sometimes hides in places people overlook every day. And if you're wondering how to know whether your 1998 penny has that rare magic, here's the moment you've been waiting for. The wide AM variety, the doubling on the lettering, the crisp strike, the condition above all else. Even small differences matter. A coin with sharp details can multiply in price dramatically compared to one that's worn down. That's why collectors treat grading like a science and sometimes like a religion. But here comes the cliffhanger. Even among the known valuable varieties, there may still be undocumented errors waiting to be discovered. New varieties surface every year, catching even experts off guard. One shocking discovery could rewrite the price guides, reshape the market, and create a brand new class of million-dollar pennies. Could the next discovery come from your collection? That's the thrilling uncertainty driving today's 1998 penny frenzy. And before you think this market is just hype, consider this: prices for rare Lincoln cents have been climbing steadily as more buyers enter the collectible market. Wealthy investors, nostalgic collectors, and even technology entrepreneurs have jumped in, driving prices higher than anyone predicted 20 years ago. A generation of new collectors wants the rarest examples, and they're willing to pay for them. If you've ever wanted to sell, upgrade your lifestyle, or transform forgotten pocket change into real wealth, this is your moment. Because as demand grows and supply shrinks, the value of rare coins almost always moves in one direction. Sometimes sharply, sometimes slowly, but always up. And of course, there's humor in all of this too. Just imagine telling your younger self that the pennies you dropped between sofa cushions might be worth more than your first car. Or that one coin you accidentally vacuumed up years ago. Yeah, let's hope that one wasn't the million-dollar variety. But in all seriousness, the message is clear. The 1998 Lincoln penny represents possibility. Real, tangible, life-changing possibility. And if you have one, you owe it to yourself to check it carefully, to examine every detail, to look for those tiny markers that could turn a simple coin into a staggering opportunity. Because at the end of the day, wealth doesn't always appear in the form we expect. Sometimes it shows up quietly. Sometimes it hides in your kitchen drawer. And sometimes it's smaller than your thumbnail, but powerful enough to shift the path of your life. So as you finish this video, remember this: the rarest discoveries don't belong only to experts, dealers, or seasoned collectors. They belong to anyone willing to look a little closer. Will your 1998 penny be the one that changes everything? Will you uncover the next record-shattering variety? Or will someone else find it first? Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old drawer, and realizing that a single penny, a tiny, ordinary-looking 2006 Lincoln 1-cent coin, could be the key to changing your financial future forever. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Yet right now, collectors across the country are paying up to $206,000 for extraordinary examples of this seemingly modern coin. And in the rarest cases, certain varieties and error strikes have skyrocketed into the millions. The question is, could one of those life-changing coins already be sitting in your home? Welcome back. Today, we're diving into one of the most surprising opportunities hiding in plain sight, the 2006 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny. A coin so common that most people don't give it a second glance, yet so valuable in its rarest forms that it has turned ordinary Americans into unexpected high-net-worth individuals overnight. And as unbelievable as this sounds, demand is rising faster than ever. So if you've ever wondered whether your loose change holds the power to elevate your lifestyle, reduce financial stress, or even create generational wealth, this is the moment to lean in. Now, before we unravel the secrets behind the astonishing values of these pennies, let me ask you something. How many times have you tossed a coin into a jar without even looking at it? Hundreds? Thousands? Imagine the irony if the one coin that could have changed everything was already in your hands once, and you never realized it. It's a scary thought, isn't it? But it's also a thrilling reminder of the hidden opportunities most people walk away from every day without knowing that. In 2006, the Denver Mint produced billions of pennies. With such massive production numbers, nobody expected anything special. Yet within these billions, a tiny fraction emerged with extraordinary qualities. Coins struck with flawless precision, coins made from early die states with razor-sharp details, and error coins that slipped through unnoticed. The very types of coins that attract elite collectors who are willing to pay jaw-dropping sums. This is where things get exciting. What makes a 2006 D penny worth hundreds of thousands? Comes down to two factors: rarity of condition and rarity of error. Only a microscopic percentage of these pennies qualify as near-perfect, museum-grade specimens. These are the coins graded at the highest possible levels by professional services. Coins that look like they were minted yesterday, untouched, uncirculated, and nearly immortal. And then there are the error strikes. Double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, misaligned dies, and even early production satin finish planchets that were never meant for circulation. These accidental masterpieces can turn what looks like pocket change into a retirement-level asset. But here's where the story becomes even more compelling. As inflation rises, as the market for rare collectibles expands, and as wealthy buyers continue pouring their money into tangible assets, the value of rare pennies like the 2006 D has exploded. A single confirmed high-grade specimen has already crossed the $206,000 mark, and some experts believe that the right error specimen, if discovered today, could break the million-dollar threshold at any moment. Think about that. A penny becoming a seven-figure treasure. Isn't it wild how the smallest things can rewrite a person's financial destiny? You might be wondering, how does such a modern coin command that kind of value? The truth is simple. The rare coin market rewards uniqueness. It rewards condition. It rewards scarcity. And most importantly, it rewards those who take the time to look. While the majority of 2006 D pennies are worth 1 cent, the handful that stand out are magnets for wealthy collectors who compete fiercely to own the best example known to exist. Picture this. A collector sits across from an auctioneer, bidding paddle trembling in hand. The crowd holds its breath as numbers climb. 10,000 to 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. All for a coin most people have probably stepped over on a sidewalk. The tension in the room feels electric. And the moment the hammer falls, someone's everyday penny has just turned into a fortune. Moments like this are happening more often than you think, and the next headline-making coin might very well come from someone like you. And here's where the urgency comes in. These high-grade and rare error varieties are becoming harder to find by the day. Why? Because collectors are scooping them up, investors are locking them away, and everyday people are waking up to the reality that they've been ignoring one of the simplest wealth-building opportunities sitting right in their homes. Every year that passes, every collection that gets sold, every coin that gets graded and stored permanently reduces the pool of undiscovered treasures. So let me ask you, have you checked your penny jars? Your old boxes? Your junk drawers? That glass bowl on the dresser? It sounds funny, almost trivial, But some of the most valuable 2006 pennies ever found were discovered in the most ordinary places. A retired couple in the Midwest discovered theirs while cleaning for a yard sale. A young mechanic found another wedged under the seat of an old truck he was repairing. Life-changing wealth hiding in dusty corners. Isn't it amazing how opportunity doesn't always knock? Sometimes it rattles around in a coffee can. And if the fear of missing out hasn't kicked in yet, let this sink in. Once these rare coins enter private collections, they may never resurface again. Generational collections have a way of disappearing for decades, which means the window of opportunity to discover the next six-figure or million-dollar 2006 penny is narrowing. Imagine finding out next year that the one you could have looked for, the one that could have paid off your mortgage or funded your dream business or allowed you to live the lifestyle you've always imagined, was already found by someone else. But excitement outweighs fear here, because the good news is simple. All it takes is one coin, one moment, one discovery. You don't need to be a numismatist. You don't need special equipment. You don't need decades of experience. You just need curiosity, attention to detail, and the willingness to stop overlooking the things that seem too small to matter. That's the same mindset wealthy individuals use. They look where others never think to look. So what should you search for when examining your 2006 pennies? Look for crisp, sharp details, full steps on the Lincoln Memorial, bright luster, no scratches, and surfaces so clean they look sculpted. Look for doubling on the lettering, off-center strikes, die cracks along Lincoln's profile, or unusual textures near the mint mark. If something looks strange, intriguing, or unusually perfect, that is your signal. Because the rarest discoveries often reveal themselves in the smallest imperfections or the most flawless strikes. And here's a fun thought to keep the excitement going. What if you held the next record-breaking penny in your fingertips right now without knowing it? What if the next million-dollar coin is already in circulation, waiting for someone bold enough to recognize it? A penny worth more than a luxury home. It sounds outrageous, but history proves it again and again. Coins nobody expected to matter suddenly become the treasures everyone wants. As we move toward the end of this journey, keep your attention locked in, because we're approaching the moment most people miss, the moment when everything clicks. The 2006 Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that opportunity doesn't always appear wrapped in gold or shining like a spotlight. Sometimes it shows up disguised as the smallest object in your life. Sometimes it whispers instead of shouts. The people who benefit most from rare coins aren't the ones with the most money. They're the ones with the most awareness. And awareness is something you can choose right now. You have the power to turn forgotten change into financial transformation. You have the ability to take control of your wealth, your future, and your security. Isn't it worth looking a little closer? Isn't it worth the tiny effort that could create massive results? This is your moment of decision. You can end the video and forget everything you just heard, or you can take the next step toward possibly discovering a six-figure or even million-dollar treasure already in your possession. What will you choose? Because somewhere out there, the next legendary 2006 penny is waiting, and it might just be waiting for you.